Heyers, welcome to the ZedKraze show for tonight, the 13th of October 2017, making it Black Friday, which is quite interesting for it to be in the month of October, saying it's Halloween month, if you will. If you believe in all these sort of things and that sort of thing, I'm not a spiritual person or anything like that myself, but I do like the visual aesthetic of Halloween, that's for sure. So I'll take that on board and let's celebrate Black Friday today. And yeah, an episode 8 of the ZedKraze show. And of course, what is the ZedKraze show all about? It's about wrapping up the week in gaming news. And each week I wonder, will there be enough news to talk about? And yes, there is, of course. Now, one thing I did forget to mention last week's show, so this is slightly older news, but it is themed well with sort of the Halloween theme coming up and also Black Friday being today. Stranger Things, which I'm sure is a show you know, even if you haven't actually seen the show, has a game coming out, or already come out. I should say the TV show, the second series of the TV show is coming soon. That's coming up, I think it was originally going to be on Halloween night, but I believe it's coming out a few days earlier than that, I think around the 27th of October. So it's only a couple of weeks away now till we get the second season of Stranger Things, which I'm really looking forward to. But what came out of nowhere was a game, a free game, and we're not talking about a free game that has in-app purchases or advertising or anything else. No alternative motive other than to promote the show. And the thing about it is, it's actually a good game. I really need to get like a little HDMI streaming or little connection thing for it, but I'll just bring it up on my phone here. It's a cool little 80s, not unsurprising, sort of pixel art inspired, sort of little mini RPG sort of thing almost. I should have thought of this beforehand and prepared this a little bit earlier, but it's just loading up now. But so far, I've seen nothing about it that's negative about it. Like, if you like Stranger Things, or if you just want a decent little mobile game, here it is. Look, there it is right there. Stranger Things. And let's just press start on that. What happened to my save game? That's a bit concerning. There's two modes. There's normal mode and then there's classic mode. Oh, here we go. So this is the game there. Let's check that out. It's a little bit Zelda inspired. And you just kind of tap to control where you go and that sort of thing. And it's got all the characters in there. And you got all this sort of conversation. It's a great, like, even if it wasn't a Stranger Things game, it'd actually be just a great little RPG, sort of action RPG sort of game. My only concern is it feels like I have lost my save game on it. That's really concerning. But otherwise, it's great. It's free. So it's on Android and iOS. So if you're interested in Stranger Things and want to get hyped up for the new season coming out very soon, or you just want a cool little free game to play without any sort of negative in-app purchases or advertisements or anything like that, then check it out. So it's just purely called, I think, Stranger Things the game or whatever. So check your local app store for more details. Next up, Jurassic World Evolution. Now, this is a game we have talked about recently. I think it was first announced at Gamescom about a month or two ago, back in August. And I can't remember if we saw a little bit of footage in. I think we did. Anyway, they've released a new gameplay trailer, and I do use the fingers like that, gameplay, because there actually isn't any gameplay shown. What is actually shown is a bunch of dinosaurs walking around a park. Now, those dinosaurs walking around a park look pretty cool, and it could be a very good game. It's by the makers of Roller Coaster Tycoon, is it? I can't remember the name of the roller coaster game. But, the really good roller coaster game that came out, I think about a year ago. And also the makers of Elite. I can't remember the name of the developer off the top of my head right now. Frontier, I think it is. Considering the roller coaster simulator experience beforehand, Planet Coaster, I think it's called. Is it Planet Coaster? I don't know. Feel free to correct me. I think this could be actually quite a good game, but yeah, I think they're a bit confused on what the term gameplay means when you're showing a trailer. I'm sure what's more meant by it is that it's a like a live, like it's an in-engine sort of trailer, so it's not CG or anything, which maybe the first trailer perhaps was. So maybe this is more of a in-engine trailer, not actual gameplay trailer. But still, it's looking pretty nice. So could be an actual decent Jurassic Park game coming out soon. I think it's coming out next year off the top of my head, but don't quote me on that. Moving on to Magic. Now, we often talk about Magic on this show, and we do play it sometimes on the ZedKraze stream. Magic's introduced a new logo. If you've seen a new digital game that they're going to be releasing sometime in the near future called Magic, what was it? Arena of the Planeswalkers or something like that. It had a bit more of a modern look to it, like the logo and that. Well, guess what? The actual official Magic the Gathering logo now has this more flat modern look to it, and in many ways I saw like some comparisons of the logos over the years. I didn't even realize they have changed over the years, but the thing is, the changes have been so subtle. They've always kept the same sort of style, like sort of the bumpy font style and that, and they've just kind of changed their texture colors a bit on it. But this is quite, I mean, as far as like spelling the word magic out goes, this and the gathering underneath, this is quite a departure style-wise for it, and I think it will annoy a few classic fans, because you got to think about, this is a game that has people that's been playing this for 20 years, so I feel like it'll be a bit of a sad departure for some people, losing that classic Magic the Gathering sort of logo. From what I heard, I think they might not be changing the backs, but they're just changing the general logo, maybe on packets and stuff or something like that going forward. Still a little bit sad, because you think of Magic and you think of this sort of almost of course, fantasy style, but that classical sort of style. I mean, I'm a very modern person. I like really sort of symmetrical, flat sort of design myself, graphically. But for Magic, I do want that old school sort of logo. So a bit of a disappointment, but you know, at the end of the day, it's just a logo, I guess. So moving on to Fortnite. A game that we weren't really talking about much a while ago until they released their Battle Royale mode. And it's obviously changed things quite a bit for Fortnite, which is also a sort of survival game as well. Anyway, some quite out of nowhere news in some ways. Epic are actually suing two alleged Fortnite cheaters. They go by the name of Mr. Vraspa and Mr. Broom, and they're associated with a cheat subscription service called Addicted Cheats. Epic are alleging that these people have broken their sort of like terms and conditions, like, hey, don't cheat, or you will be banned and so forth or whatever. And they're also, what they're going a step further with it, and I guess that's where the lawsuit comes in, is actually claiming copyright infringement, because they allege, and don't completely quote me on this because this is obviously legal stuff, so if you want more further information about the legal side of it, do some research into that. But basically, from what I've gathered, their claim is that they're claiming copyright infringement because to enable the cheat service that they're using in the game, the cheat service would have to like modify its the game's source code. So it's essentially like, I guess, saying that you're hacking the game's source code. That's copyrighted, so that's copyright infringement, and that's where they're actually trying to sue them on. I think it's a really interesting tactic, and it could be maybe finally a way to start trying to crack down a bit on cheating, because I mean, I'll forget about the fact that supposedly this group is targeting streamers, and I may be a streamer myself. Oh no, someone's going to come and shoot and kill me. Don't worry, dudes. Anyone could do that. I'm not very good at it, so you don't have to be some special person with a cheat to try and kill me. You could pretty much just be someone that can slightly shoot okay, and you'll kill me in the game. It totally ruins the experience. Like I really like playing PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and I often play that game, and I get shot and think, okay, cool, whatever. I died, and that's to be expected. But I often then have this second thought about it, this nagging thought, going, wait a minute. Did someone generally get me because of their skill? And if they did, awesome, well done. Or did they use one of these sort of cheats where it basically just locks onto you from like the other half side of the map sort of thing? And if that's the case, I mean, I have to think about those people and think, you must have a very sad life. Like, no offense, but where's the actual fun? I mean, I get the trolling side of it to an extent, but surely even that gets boring after a while. Like, it's not like you're proving yourself, like, yeah, I got number one and I'm the best, but you're not. You're totally not, because you're actually having to cheat. So in many ways, you're the worst. You may be even worse than me, technically skill-wise, because we don't know, because we're not playing on a level playing field. So anything that can discourage cheating in these online games is a good thing. I mean, when it happens in GTA Online and you just see things blowing up and people giving out free cash, it doesn't so much affect like the actual competition of it, because it doesn't, the cheating in that I haven't really noticed affecting the competitive side of things. It just kind of just makes the server kind of crap and you just move on to another server, and it doesn't really affect you so much. But for more competitive games like Fortnite Battle Royale and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, it does affect the game, and it really sucks, because I'm happy to come last in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, or Fortnite. Not that I'm going to play Fortnite again anyway. Yeah, I'm happy to come last as long as I know it was fair. Yeah, let's see how this lawsuit pans out. It'll be an interesting... I don't know if it's been done this way, where developers claiming copyright infringement from cheating. It's a really interesting tactic, and I hope it's successful, really. I really do. For the benefit of the community of Fortnite, and also other similar games like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and that. And other competitive games, because cheating just ruins any sort of online gameplay, basically. Moving on to more sort of PlayerUnknown's... I've put the title here, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds versus Fortnite, because this is a bit of a, ever since Fortnite's introduced its kind of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds mode, the Battle Royale mode, it's suddenly gone from obscurity to actually become quite popular in some sense. And that's what I'm talking about here. So PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds has shot up to 16 million owners now. Remember, I think it was end of August, we were talking about 10 million owners, and we were talking about that was like an amazing achievement, because it jumped up, I think, about 2 million owners in a short amount of time. We're already in early October, only, what's that? Like a month and a half maybe later, up to 16 million. So we're going up like almost like 1 million owners per week since about August. It's nuts. And remember, this is early access, only on PC, only on Steam. You can't get this on GOG or any other sort of platform like that. So what happens once I get this onto Xbox One as well? Like, that's going to be nuts, and maybe PlayStation 4 next year. I don't know if we'll ever see it on Switch, but that would be kind of interesting. Another huge stat for PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is 2 million concurrent Steam users. Now, we were actually getting blown away only like probably a month or two ago that PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds had for the first time ever become the top concurrent Steam users at the same time game, beating Dota just at the time. I think it was only for like an hour, and then it clearly became the top game on Steam for concurrent users, and now it's hitting 2 million. And to put that into comparison, Dota, which was previously the highest concurrent users previously on Steam, which is Valve, who owns Steam's own game, and is a free-to-play game. It's not a paid game like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, so let's keep these in mind. 1.3 million concurrent users is the maximum amount of players that Dota has ever had at the same time. And keep in mind that Dota is only available on PC. So once PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds goes onto other platforms like Xbox One and maybe PlayStation 4 next year, that if you put those concurrent users all at the same time as well, yeah, it's just going nuts. Now, I've heard some people someone on Twitter that I follow is who hates PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and thinks it's just a fad and a Twitch fad, and everyone's jumping on bandwagon of it and that sort of thing. I don't know, and they reckon it'll be dead soon and that sort of thing. I don't know, like, to have that much mass interest in a game, and it's one thing to buy the game, like 16 million owners. Okay, cool. I mean, that's a lot of owners. But to have a certain whole lot amount of people all playing at the same time, I think that says more about its longevity. And if Dota, which has been going for years and years, has had a max of 1.3 million, you would think that PUB is going to have at least a few years ahead good times, because I mean, one, it's not even out of early access yet. Two, we've got a whole bunch of new features that will come in the future, such as multiple new maps. We've got vaulting and jump like over cars and stuff like that, and fences and that sort of thing. That's really going to make the gameplay, I reckon, more fast-paced and quite interesting. So there's there's new features. I mean, the main problem right now is optimization, both for servers and also just playability in the game sort of thing. So once they actually iron those things out, you might even have more people playing at the same time, because maybe some people not playing it right now because they feel like, okay, I own it, but it's not quite ready to play yet because I know I can't get a decent frame rate, or the servers have been offline or something like that. Now, I did say versus Fortnite, so let's compare that to Fortnite. In such a short time, because let's keep in mind, this Battle Royale mode for Fortnite has only been out for, I think, roughly not even a month yet. They're already up to 10 million owners. Now, I'm going to say that's pretty much 10 million free-to-play owners of the Battle Royale mode. I don't think that's a high percentage of Fortnite Save the World owners, because if you don't know, Save the World mode is actually the original Fortnite that's going to come out as free-to-play next year. But currently, if you want to play that, you can pay money to get early access. I don't think people are doing that, and I think I don't think anyone was talking about massive numbers back when that first came out a couple of months ago. I think it was back in June or July that Fortnite originally came out. It's only just been now that they've made a Fortnite Battle Royale mode free-to-play that, now we're talking 10 million owners. So that's a massive catch-up by Fortnite. On the other hand, it's up to 500,000 concurrent users. So that's still a 25% amount of current users of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. So it's one thing, with a free-to-play game, anyone will download it and try it out. So that's easy to say, oh, we've got a lot of owners. But then it probably more so comes down to the concurrent users. So it'll be interesting to see. Of course, that 10 million owners will grow because it's free-to-play. But will the concurrent users grow, or will that gradually die off? Because I feel like Fortnite was nowhere near as enjoyable as PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. And also keep in mind that's including consoles, I believe, as well. I think it's out on consoles already. Maybe don't quote me on that one. Okay, that's enough about Pub and Fortnite. We talk about that each week. And something else we also talk about each week is Overwatch. You probably already know by this time, because it's already been a few days since it came out, but the Halloween Terror 2017 event has now started for Overwatch, and it runs till November 1st. New skins include Corsair Anna, Van Helsing McCree, this is going to be the hard one, Jiansha Mei, I've totally probably pronounced that wrong, sorry. Dracula Reaper, Dragon Symmetra, Viking Torbjorn, I probably pronounced that wrong as well. Totally 80 Zara, and Cultus Zenyatta. So that's probably, about 8 different skins. So it's quite a lot of new skins. But despite that, I don't like any of the new skins. And I just started this show off tonight. I was saying, I really like Halloween. Like, Halloween is awesome. And I got Overwatch, I think it was about the start of January this year. So I missed out on the Halloween event last year. And it annoyed the hell out of me, because whenever you went into the profile of the characters and you saw what skins you could purchase and that, you saw locked last year's Halloween skins. And I think I like pretty much every single one of the Halloween skins from last year. Now, the good news is that they've all come back, and I believe they might be a bit cheaper as well. So we will be playing Overwatch Halloween edition this Saturday, tomorrow night, from 7 p.m. Australian Western Standard Time, 14th of October. It is a different night to usual Sunday nights, because I won't be streaming games this Sunday night, because I have a concert to go to, so I cannot do it that night. So instead, we're doing a Saturday night stream instead to make up for that, and we'll be doing an Overwatch Halloween event, which will be good because we finally get to try out the Dr. Junkenstein mode, I think it's called. I still haven't checked out the Junkertown map yet. And this will be my chance finally to try and grind a little bit to try and get some of last year's skins for Overwatch. In particular, of course, after Reinhardt, if you know me on Overwatch, I mainly just play Reinhardt. So I'll be wanting to try and get that Reinhardt Overwatch skin from last year. Halloween one, sorry. And I believe that's going for quite cheap. But there's some other cool ones, like I sometimes call him Road Pig, Road Hog. His Frankenstein one's really cool, and Mercy's Witch one is really cool. But I think those are both quite pricey, and I doubt I'll be able to grind enough in one night to afford that. And I say that in one night because I reckon this is probably the last time I'm going to play Overwatch on a stream for a very long time. I really don't enjoy the game that much, but I like the skins collecting because I'm a collector myself. I know that sounds not doesn't make much sense to play a game you don't particularly enjoy, but I'll give it a go around Halloween for the Halloween vibe. And I think I'll do it again next year around Halloween, maybe for the Chinese event again, because I really liked some of the Chinese New Year skins earlier in the year, but I didn't actually really get any, I don't think. I want to really get all those Monkey Magic sort of ones, Journey to the West ones. So hopefully they'll be cheaper if they do a Chinese New Year event again. But other than that, I don't really see myself playing Overwatch much on the stream. So if you want to check me out playing Overwatch really badly, trying to get some Halloween skins, tune in this Saturday night from 7 p.m. Australian Western Standard Time, and we'll see what we can get. Hopefully at least that Reinhardt skin. I'm pretty sure I've got the credits already to buy that straight away, so we'll at least get that, and maybe hopefully we can get another one as well. Moving on to another game we semi-regularly talk about, GTA Online, and that is a game I will continue to stream, because despite the whole what would you say, money grabbing sort of side of GTA Online, I still enjoy it, even though I can't afford majority of the stuff that's in there. But there's a new update coming soon called Transform Races, and from what I can tell, it's going to be focusing on races where you kind of transform, like maybe from a boat to a car to a plane, and I think that's going to be really good, because there's already like this sort of quad bike that transforms into like a boat sort of thing. It has a really nice flow to when you're transitioning from water to land sort of thing. So I don't know if the vehicles are new vehicles that are going to transform as such, or you just kind of spawn into, you go off a jump and then you spawn into a plane or something. I'm not sure, but we'll have to see. We'll definitely try that out sometime in the near future on the ZedKraze stream when it comes out. But what was the real interesting announcement to do with this new Transform Races is there's a new car. There's a few new cars, but the one that stood out was one called Vigilante. And the Vigilante is basically a Batmobile. It's almost identical to a Batmobile. I think it's the Tim Burton one from the 90s films. But it's almost identical, and I'd be really surprised if there isn't a slight knock on the door from the IP owners of Batman in regards to that car. I hope not, because I really want that car, and if I can afford it, it'll probably be some ridiculous amount. It's probably like $3 or $4 million or something like that, and I've only got like about 2 million credit on my account currently. I'm not even sure how I got that. I must have done some grinding at some point. If I can afford it, I think I'm going to pick that up, because I've had this money sitting there for a while now, and I keep not wanting to spend it. But hey, if I can get a Batmobile, I'm going to get myself a Batmobile. So hopefully there isn't any sort of lawsuits over that. But yeah, check it out online and see if you can tell the difference between the Vigilante mobile and the Batmobile. I don't think I've seen a release date on that new mode, but it should be coming soon, no doubt. Seeing they've been promoting it for the past about week or so. Moving on to some hardware news. Oculus Rift now has a permanent recommended retail price of $399 US. Now, this is the same or similar price to the prices that they were doing it for. There was a bit of a summer for you sort of Northern Hemisphere people sale, and they were doing it quite cheap back then around this price. So all they've done really here is just made that like the permanent new price, which is not surprising considering I believe PlayStation VR has been going for quite cheap lately, at least been having some nice bundles in that. HTC Vive has actually dropped its price a bit, and I think it's about $799 US, and they're also chucking in for that VR into that, which is surprisingly a full price game. So that's another, $60 US value on top of that sort of thing. So Oculus are obviously going pretty hard with that, and I think that might include their touch controllers, which if it does, that's a really quite a good deal, really. But also they're probably keeping in mind that one, they're far behind on PlayStation VR. I think PlayStation VR has got way more units sold than the Vive and the Rift. But also that there's new headsets coming out from other companies like Dell and Acer and that, with their mixed reality sort of headsets that are kind of a bit better in some ways because they're cheap, but they also got cameras inbuilt into them, so they can do all the motion tracking in hand. It's not actually a wireless untethered sort of unit, but at least doesn't have to have a bunch of cameras set up, so it's a little less clunky to set up. So, and I'm not sure when we're going to see a new Oculus Rift 2. I don't think we'll see it for another year or two, until they can, up the resolution, I reckon, and get it untethered so it's wireless. I think those are the two main features that, and obviously not have to have these cameras involved either. I think those are the three main features, and they won't want to do that until they won't release a second one until then. Also, out of respect to the people that have invested early into this platform and don't want to feel like, oh man, I shelled out all this money for an Oculus Rift, and then only a year later they released a new model. But speaking of new models, they are releasing a new model of an Oculus headset, but it's not a Rift. It's an Oculus Go, it's called. It's a new, cheap, and it's an untethered VR set, like I said. Essentially, it's kind of like the Samsung Gear VR, which is also made by Oculus. But instead of actually having to put a Samsung Galaxy phone into there, it's actually got the hardware built in. So I imagine the hardware specs are very similar to something like a Samsung Galaxy phone. But yeah, and that's the thing that concerns me a bit. Because at least with like something like Samsung Gear VR, you can kind of upgrade your phone and keep the specs going up and keep up with, increasing requirements for speed and that for new experiences and games and VR apps. The concern I have with this is that you're kind of going to be stuck with almost like a console, I guess, in a way. You're going to be stuck with certain specs until you upgrade the whole headset. But that said, because that's different to like a PC-based or PC-based sort of one, because you can actually upgrade your PC without having to upgrade the headset necessarily. But that said, it is cheap. It's $199 US, so about half the price of the Rift, and you don't have to have some really good gaming PC to run it. It's out next year in 2018, and visually it kind of looks a bit similar to the Google Daydream headset that was released, or at least announced earlier in the year. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if that does bring in a bit more of a mainstream crowd that doesn't necessarily do hardcore gaming and that. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes, if that makes VR a little bit more mainstream next year, because, last year was supposed to be the year of VR, and it definitely was the start of VR, I would say, in modern VR, should we say. Let's not talk about the 90s. It didn't really have the big start that we really needed, and it's going to take quite a few years. We're still in the pioneering years here. We're still in the infancy years here, sort of thing. So it's going to take a while. Me personally, the PlayStation VR I've enjoyed. It was good to kind of just at a fairly decent price, be able to scratch that itch for VR for me. And it at the time was about half the price of the Rift and the Vive. Now I definitely more so want a PC VR headset, really. So I'm probably going to wait for, the second generation of the Vive or the Rift or something like that. Something that, kind of doubles the resolution up to, something like 1440p at least, if not 4K ideally. So we can get rid of a bit of that screen door effect. Because to be honest, that's the main problem I have with the PlayStation VR, and the other, I haven't tried the Rift, granted, but I have tried the Vive a couple of times, and the main issue is the screen door effect is still there. I've tried the dev kit 1 and 2 of the Oculus Rift, and there was a very definite screen door effect, which is where you can kind of see all the pixels. But I thought by the time we come to the consumer versions, that would be mostly gone, but it wasn't completely gone by the consumer versions of the main 3 headsets that came out. And that's a shame, because that's the only thing that breaks immersion really for me. Like, probably the most immersive gaming experience I've ever had was playing Batman Arkham VR on PlayStation VR. It was amazing. Like, you put yourself in Gotham, you were looking in a mirror, and when you moved, you were Batman. It was nuts. It was almost an out-of-body experience. But then the thing that kind of still made you remind yourself, like, oh, wait a minute, I am looking at a screen here, was that screen door effect. So I feel like that's the big thing that still needs to be fixed. And it's going to take a while. But hey, 4K screens are still coming down. They're becoming a little bit more common on mobile screens. And of course, if you think about it, the early prototypes, and also the actual consumer versions are based on mobile phone technology. So yeah, hopefully we will have 4K based sets, but it's not just also about getting the screens in there. It's about having the processing power to be able to run that at 90 frames per second or higher, which, you know, how many of us have a PC that can run 4K at 90 frames per second or higher? Not many of us. So that's the tricky thing. They might be able to afford to put 4K screens into these VR headsets already, but they don't necessarily have the processing power to be able to send that to you without making you feel motion sickness. More Oculus news, not hardware, but in linking in with the Rift and Go news, Oculus are actually working with Respawn, the developers behind Titanfall, on a new game that's going to come out in 2019. And of course, that's a VR game. Now, not much, actually pretty much nothing was told at all, but from what I could gather from the talking about it, is it looks like it might be for a Rift. They showed a little short promo video, and it was like a test footage of a person, and they looked like they were wearing a Rift, not like the Oculus Go. So I think it's going to be aimed at the Rift. And it sounds like the way they're talking, they want you to experience being a soldier. So I'm guessing you're going to play as a soldier, and you're going to experience that sort of in your face sort of violence almost, of being in a war or something like that. So I don't know if it's going to be based in Titanfall world or more like a modern world or something like that instead, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Moving on to possible hardware news. Game Boy. Nintendo have actually registered a trademark. Now, from what I could tell, because it was in Japanese, trademark didn't actually necessarily mention or name Game Boy as such, but it had a picture of a Game Boy, just a graphic of a Game Boy. So what it could be possibly is preempting a Game Boy Mini. We've had obviously the NES Classic. We've had the SNES Classic just come out. Maybe next year we're not getting the Nintendo 64 Classic. Maybe we're getting a Game Boy Classic, which would be an interesting concept. It could also possibly be for Game Boy themed accessories, or just protecting the brand, because, you know, there's a lot of people that try and hijack the Game Boy theme a lot for various unofficial products out there. Now, the reason why it may be accessories, I reckon, is because in the trademark it listed home video game console programs, programs for smartphones, smartphone cases, smartphone covers, key holders, necklaces, and watches. Now that opens up a whole lot of possibilities. It could be, as I said, protecting their brand in the respect of that there could be people out there hijacking the sort of theme of Game Boy for those sort of items. Or maybe Nintendo, because obviously Nintendo have been expanding their horizons a lot lately because they've got to make some more money, because they're doing quite badly prior to the Switch coming out. Maybe they're looking to expand a bit. Maybe they're going to make a Game Boy Classic. Maybe they're going to release Game Boy games for smartphones. Maybe they're going to make Game Boy themed cases for smartphones, and maybe turn it into almost a Game Boy, which we've already seen unofficial third-party sort of versions of that sort of thing. Maybe it says key holders. I don't know about that, but they've got other sort of fashion accessories, necklaces and watches. Maybe they're going to release Game Boy themed sort of fashion accessories. Who knows? But it could, it's a curious thing, and I'm looking forward to seeing what it is. It's one of the consoles I still do have that I originally purchased as Game Boy Color. So, but to be honest, like, the games wouldn't stack up too well these days. To be honest, having that mono screen and that, and no, often a lot of those games were just kind of reduced quality versions of NES or SNES sort of games and that. So I don't know how good the games would be, but, you know, if we could get some Game Boy games on here that were full ports, not just some sort of themed games like some of the Nintendo games that have been released so far, that would be cool. That would definitely be cool. Anyway, speaking of mobile games, a port that has happened that was also unexpected. We've had quite a few iOS ports recently that came out a bit out of nowhere. We had the Witness recently. Well, actually, they've been talking about porting Witness for a long time, but we didn't know if that was actually going to happen. Now, the Talos Principle, a very similar game to the Witness, a puzzle sort of game, is out on iOS through Devolver Digital. and it is only $7.99 Australian dollars, which is a pretty reasonable price, I guess, for that sort of game if you're interested in getting it. So if you'd like to get it, it's out now. Well, I'm not saying it's coming soon. It's actually out now. And it's the full game. It's like, I think, about 2 gig or more in file size, so you better have some storage space. But yeah, if you've been interested if you like the original game, or you've been wanting to try it and feel like the mobile platform would be better, obviously you could play it on iPad as well, not just iPhone, then check it out. Next up for mobile sort of gaming, Eve, which is, if you don't know, one of the more longer running MMOs of all time. Some people always used to call it the spreadsheet game. I never really quite got it. I remember playing it about 5 years ago, I think it was. And it was, yeah, I didn't find it that interesting. I couldn't get into it. I just tried a 30-day trial, but I think I only played for a day. It just wasn't for me. And from what I can tell from a lot of the news that comes out there, is you need to have quite a bit of money to sink into it, and you can lose that money. People have lost thousands of dollars worth of ships. So I guess in that respect, that might be the same audience that it seems to be happy at throwing $1,000 on Star Citizen, even though it may never come out, because they might be used to losing virtual ships and thousands of dollars on Eve before. Anyway, that wonderful Eve experience may be coming to mobile. So the company that behind it, CCP, I think it is working with another company, and they're making what's called Project Aurora, which I'm guessing is probably just a code name at this point. The description they have for it so far is: players must work together to dominate the center of the galaxy and become the most powerful corporation in the universe. Project Aurora will be a massively multiplayer mobile universe filled with epic player stories. So it's interesting because I feel like, from what I've seen of the original Eve game, that it's not exactly a graphically intense sort of game. So maybe they could almost port the whole original Eve experience over to mobile, and in many ways that might expand their horizons a bit, because I imagine their player base must be dying a bit over the years, because it's not like they've massively changed it and that. But well, they probably have made changes, but it's not, the experience hasn't really, I feel like, I doubt it's a very 2017 experience, if you know what I mean. So maybe this is their transition plan, and maybe trying to get people to move towards this. I don't know if this necessarily will link in with the original Eve, like you could play on your mobile or on PC. I get the feeling it will be a separate experience, but maybe it'll be a very similar experience. I'll definitely try it out if it's free to play. But I imagine if it's anything like the original game, you'll probably have to pay up any cash if you want to have any resemblance of a fun. Anyway, it's coming out next year, supposedly, and there's going to be a limited soft launch price. So what that means is sometimes some countries, some territories will get a mobile game. It seems to be quite a regular thing with bigger titles these days. We'll get a game at least a few months before it comes out to the rest of the world. I'm hoping Australia is one of those countries. Australia used to be one of those soft launch sort of countries quite a bit, with a lot of mobile apps and games, but it hasn't seemed to be the case so much lately. But hopefully we are, and if we do, I'll definitely let you know what it's like. And Ozhound has just joined us, and he says it sounds crap. It wouldn't run on a mobile platform, he reckons, the original Eve, and he says that as a long-term Eve player. Okay. Okay, that's straight from the horse's mouth there. A long-term Eve player says it sounds crap. So I guess don't get too excited about it, but I'll check it out if it's free to play, and see what it's like. But I doubt myself, as not a long-term player, that I'm probably not going to enjoy it either. But hey, it's an option for people that do want to try and enjoy it. Moving on, finally for tonight, is some Stardew Valley news. Well, not directly Stardew Valley news, but the developer of Stardew Valley, which is just one guy, even though it's published by indie publisher Chucklefish. The game itself was actually made by just one guy over 4 years, and he continues to develop stuff for it. Well, anyway, he's supposedly working on a new game. He mentioned in a Reddit AMA just recently. The game is not a sequel, but it's supposedly set on the same planet or universe or whatever you want to call it, sort of thing. And the way he's going to be approaching this game is supposedly with a similar mindset to Stardew Valley. Take a style of a game that was never fully realized, or that changed trajectories, leaving unexplored possibilities. I believe this is a quote from him. And carry on the tradition in my own weird way. He also said, with my next game, I want to go all out with my ideas, taking things to the extreme, create an even richer and more detailed game world, and delight players with continuous handcrafted experiences. So, what the actual theme of the game is, we don't know. Chucklefish, the publisher, actually working on this really cool looking game with no release date or official name. It's got a code name of Spellbound, and it basically looks like Stardew Valley, but kind of crossed with Harry Potter, where you're playing as these witches going to a witch school. A little bit also like that anime that's out there called, I think it's Little Witch Academia. That looks awesome. I can't wait until that comes out, but there's no news on that. There's only just been a few screenshots and a little tiny bit of test video. But yeah, so I imagine it's not a witch themed sort of game, but yeah, give us another game like Stardew Valley, but with a slightly different theme. That sounds really cool. And it sounds like he's going to take a few more risks this time around. Now he's got the confidence and the money, obviously, to do so. Be interesting to see if he continues to develop this game by himself, or if he does bring a few other people into the fold. I imagine the type of person he is, which is quite quiet on Twitter. He's not constantly promoting himself, and he speaks when he has to, like, hey, here's a major update or something like that. Will possibly just want to, despite all the success he's had and the amount of money he's earned, that he could probably hire some other developers to work with him. I imagine he's going to probably keep to his roots and want to just keep developing this by himself in his own way, as he said. So who knows when his next game's going to come out, but there's not going to be a Stardew Valley 2 from the sounds of it anytime soon. But any new game by him, I'm definitely in for. And to be honest, if I do end up getting a Switch, I'm quite tempted to get Stardew Valley on Switch, even though I have it on PC. I saw the other night, actually just last night, when I was in a restaurant, there was someone waiting for their food, and they had a Nintendo Switch there playing Stardew Valley. And I was like, dude, don't tempt me. I'm so tempted to buy a Nintendo Switch right now, and I don't want to buy necessarily Stardew Valley on Switch, because I could totally lose my life to it. If Stardew Valley was on a mobile phone, goodbye life. The only reason why I haven't played more Stardew Valley is because I have been waiting for the multiplayer expansion. They've been saying that's been coming out for a long time. That's not actually been developed by Concerned Ape himself. It's actually been done by, I think, the publisher themselves, Chucklefish. Supposedly, the multiplayer component of Stardew Valley is coming out next year in 2018. It's coming to PC. There's been a bit of confusion over it. It's coming to PC first, but the first console to get it is actually being the last console to get the game, and that's the Nintendo Switch. So I like the idea that I could play co-op on either the Switch or PC. It'd be good if it was cross-platform play. That would be awesome, but I can't imagine that's going to happen with a indie developer. I mean, definitely don't expect cross-platform play on PlayStation 4, because obviously Sony are very locked off from everyone else, but everyone else seems to be playing friendly for cross-platform play. So it'll be interesting to see if there will be any cross-platform play when co-op on Stardew Valley finally comes out, hopefully next year sometime. But still, exciting news for Stardew Valley fans and Concerned Ape fans as well. Anyway, that about wraps up for tonight's stream. I hope you've enjoyed this week's gaming news. If you do enjoy the ZedKraze stream, please follow the various social channels up there, and also follow on Twitch, of course. We broadcast this ZedKraze show, weekly gaming news show, live at 7 p.m. Australian Western Standard Time every Friday night. It is archived in the Twitch archives as well, and then the YouTube version comes out sometime 24 hours or later afterwards. Sometimes it's over the weekend, sometimes it's like today, where I just uploaded last week's episode just this morning. So if you do want to get current news straight away, it's best tuning in live or probably watching on this Twitch archives instead, because I can't guarantee when I will get it up on YouTube. But I do get all the episodes up on YouTube eventually within the week, but I can't guarantee when exactly that might be. Anyway, that's it for tonight's show. What's happening for this weekend for the ZedKraze stream on Twitch? No Sunday stream, as I've mentioned multiple times. I am going to a concert, so I can't do a stream on Sunday night. So instead, I'm going to be streaming on Saturday night, and I'm going to be streaming Overwatch, the Halloween event. And we're going to grind for some Halloween skins, not from this year's batch, but from that last year's batch, and hopefully at least get the Reinhardt one, maybe that Mercy or Roadhog one as well. Then next week, a little preview as to what we're going to be playing next week. It's all about South Park. I'm just going to be straight up. It's going to be all about South Park. So we're probably going to stream South Park both on Wednesday night and also Sunday night next week. And that won't get us through the whole game, but it'll at least give you a taste of what South Park is like. The last South Park game was brilliant, and I can't wait to get back into a new South Park, The Fractured But Whole. And the good news is it's not censored in Australia, so no more crying koalas or anything in the Australian version. We get the full deal, which I'm quite surprised, because some of the scenes I've seen from this next game feel like there would have been a big temptation for the Australian Classification Board to ban it, but surprisingly it got through. So good news for us adult gamers, but I will say to any young'uns out there, maybe you don't watch it if, R-rated games are not your thing. Anyway, that's it for tonight's stream. I hope you've enjoyed it, and as always, until next time, check ya.